counterproductive. Let's talk about it with David Hawkings, a senior editor for Roll Call. It seemed like in the president's first term, I mean, you couldn't turn on the television at night without getting some kind of a White House address. What happened to that approach?
Well, they changed their mind. They concluded it wasn't working. We know from talking to people at the White House that they concluded that in this new media era where there was sort of a Tower of Babel and there was so much sound and everywhere you looked, that the president would do better by not speaking out on everything, because when he spoke out on everything, the public tended to hear almost none of it, and that if he stayed quiet and spoke less often, more attention would be paid to the things that he did say. He also famously made a couple of mistakes in speaking out on issues in the public sphere in his first term that he later came to regret. The famous professor at Harvard, the black professor at Harvard, who ended up resulting in the beer summit in the Rose Garden and a couple of other incidents like that.
Right. In comparing him to Dwight Eisenhower, though, I mean, Eisenhower was a West Point graduate, a guy who led the nation to victory over Europe and Japan in World War II, supervised basically the rebuilding of the world, had some monumental accomplishments before he became president. Do they really employ the same kinds of styles?
They seem to at this point. Now, what we know from reading Eisenhower biographies is that the hidden hand was in fact moving behind the scenes. The president now, this current president, since we haven't read the after-action reviews, his presidency is not over yet, and his aides aren't telling us what's actually going on behind the scenes all the time. We don't actually know what he's doing all the time behind the scenes, and he is leaving himself open to the criticism that his leadership style is passive or disengaged. He says that they have leaked out some word that the president is engaged in international affairs. He's made some reach outs on Syria, on Egypt. He is not, however, by design, engaging in the immigration debate in Congress, for example, which is what I'm paying most attention to from my job at Roll Call. The president knows that to engage on immigration too much would be to spoil whatever chance he has of getting a deal done, that if the more he speaks out about the need for an immigration deal, the more he will antagonize the Republicans that he needs to become to get onto his side and to support something. If there are going to be any Republicans at all, they'll only come onto his side if he gets out of the way.
Okay, what about health care, though? I mean, that was the signature accomplishment of his first term. It seems to be falling apart. The rollout of the employer mandate has been delayed. Now these unions are coming out and saying that it's you know, that Obamacare is going to wreck the middle class. Why doesn't he, you know, jump in with a pitchfork and do something about trying to salvage health care?
I think he is. I think we do have some evidence that he is doing that behind the scenes. It will obviously be the premier issue. Mitch McConnell, the Senate Minority Leader, has called this the premier issue of the 2014 midterm election. We have some evidence already that there's some $500 million is going to be spent on advertising against the Affordable Care Act in the coming year. It's going to be the main rhetorical showdown of the campaign season, or at least one of them. My expectation is that the president will, and his Democratic allies in Congress, will speak out on it by then. They're hoping to right some of the problems with it before then. There is some evidence just this week that they're getting somewhere. There is a study that was done that shows that quality has improved. They picked out 32 healthcare systems. They showed that quality has improved at those under the Affordable Care Act, even if the costs have not been reduced by as much as the president sort of proposed that they would be. And he's also getting a little bit of a bounce from, a little bit ironically, from the fact that the mandate has been postponed, is forcing some people to go and buy insurance from these new exchanges.
All right, David Hawkings, the senior editor at Roll Call. We'll see what else the president has to say or do in the coming weeks. Thank you.
Thanks, John.